Clara Bowes' home was synonymous with wild Hollywood parties during the Roaring Twenties, but by the 1970s, the property had fallen into disrepair and was bulldozed to make way for modern development. Today, there's no trace of it. No plaque, no tribute, just another upscale home with no hint of the wild glamour it once held. This is not the only mansion that is demolished. There are many more, from the legendary Pickford Mansion to Lucille Ball's Beverly Hills mansion. Here are 18 celebrities whose mansions were demolished with their careers. Marilyn Monroe's Brentwood home, 12,305 Fifth Helena Drive. Marilyn Monroe's Brentwood home is often described as the ultimate symbol of her fragile and tumultuous journey. Purchased in 1962 for approximately $77,500, a sum equal to around $700,000 in today's money, it was the only property she ever owned by herself. Nestled at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac, the Spanish-style house boasted 4 bedrooms, a shimmering kidney-shaped pool, and a walled garden that offered the star a semblance of privacy. According to an L.A. County public record archived in local real estate documents, Monroe's desire for a stable retreat was reflected in the cozy interior design. She decorated the residence with hand-picked Mexican tiles and comfortable furniture. Accounts from her friends, detailed in various biographies, like Donald Spoto's Marilyn Monroe, the biography, revealed that Marilyn saw the house as a chance for emotional rebirth after years under the control of studios, managers, and public expectations. Tragically, Monroe passed away in this very home on August 5, 1962. In the decades following her death, the home became a pilgrimage site for fans, with visitors leaving flowers at the gate. In 2023, local news outlets reported that the new owner planned to demolish the structure, igniting a public outcry. Amid the controversy, the Los Angeles City Council intervened, placing a notice of consideration for landmark status. While it still stands for now, the looming threat of demolition hangs over it, reminding us that not even the most famous address in Hollywood is safe from the wrecking ball. Judy Garland's Belair home. Judy Garland's Belair estate epitomized the Hollywood dream during its heyday. Purchased in the early 1940s, the residence displayed a tasteful fusion of Spanish colonial and Hollywood Regency influences. Built with spacious, entertaining areas, the home frequently hosted star-studded gatherings. Biographers Gerald Clark and Ann Edwards mentioned that Vincente Minnelli, Garland's second husband, supervised much of the interior design, transforming it into a vibrant showcase of bold pink walls, plush sofas, and flamboyant draperies. Garland's personal diaries, excerpts of which surfaced in the 1990s, illustrated the mansion as both a refuge from the high-pressure studio system and a hub where luminaries like Frank Sinatra, Gene Kelly, and Katharine Hepburn came for intimate soirees. Despite the glitz, Garland's life there was marked by emotional turbulence and financial woes. Studio contracts dwindled, and medical expenses mounted, forcing Garland to sell the estate in the 1950s. Over the following decades, the house passed through several hands. By the early 2000s, the property had fallen into slight disrepair, and the new owners decided on a drastic overhaul. In a move that stunned classic film enthusiasts, the once vibrant estate was demolished to make way for a sleek, modern mansion. Critics and historians lamented the loss, pointing out that Belair was losing a vital piece of Tinseltown heritage. Though bits of memory survive in photographs and archived interviews, the grand facade of Garland's beloved home is now only an echo in Hollywood history. Bette Davis's Colonial Revival home in Beverly Hills. Bette Davis, famous for her intensity on screen and off, initially purchased her Colonial Revival mansion in Beverly Hills in the early 1940s. The home's facade featured stately white columns, symmetrical windows, and black shutters. Historians referencing L.A. building permits note that Davis spent nearly $100,000, a considerable sum for the time, on renovations, tailoring each room to her refined taste. Inside, The corridors were adorned with her cherished paintings, antiques, and an extensive collection of books. In her autobiography, The Lonely Life, Davis described the home as her sanctuary, away from the intense scrutiny of the Hollywood machine. She hosted close friends for dinner parties, featuring carefully curated menus that showcased her love for French cuisine. She also installed a soundproof piano room for her frequent vocal training and rehearsals. After Davis's divorce from William Grant Sherry in 1950, the property changed hands multiple times. Real estate logs from the 1980s suggest the final private owner decided that a new beginning was in order. The colonial revival design, once the epitome of refined elegance, clashed with the evolving tastes for contemporary lines and open-concept living. Despite initial community resistance, the mansion was finally demolished. This move sparked debates in the local press, with many lamenting the loss of an architectural treasure tied so closely to one of Hollywood's most celebrated icons. Today, a sprawling modern estate stands in its place, with only the old property records to hint at its storied past. Lucille Ball's Beverly Hills Mansion. Purchased in 1954 when I Love Lucy was at its peak, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's Beverly Hills Mansion epitomized the comedic couple's success. Nestled on Roxbury Drive, the home showcased a fusion of ranch style and mid-century modern architecture. According to real estate documents archived by the Beverly Hills Historical Society, the property included a sunken living room, a lush backyard with a pool, and a guest house used by visiting relatives. Ball and Arnaz's relationship was often the talk of Hollywood, and it's said that the walls of this house witnessed not just comedic brainstorming sessions, but also marital disagreements. Interviews with family friends, quoted in Kathleen Brady's Lucille. The Life of Lucille Ball, describe late-night script readings in the den and rehearsals in the living room. This was also where Lucy and Desi hosted co-stars, like Vivian Vance and William Frawley, who found comfort in the home's warm ambiance. After Ball and Arnaz divorced in 1960, the mansion changed ownership a few times before eventually landing in the hands of investors. By 2011, the property had aged, suffering from structural issues that made preservation difficult. Developers sought to modernize the site, and despite protests from historical conservationists, the wrecking crew arrived. Today, the only reference to the famed comedic duo is a small commemorative plaque placed discreetly on the sidewalk, a humble reminder of the comedic genius once nurtured behind those now demolished walls. Errol Flynns' Mullhalland Farm. Errol Flynns' Mullhalland Farm was a legendary estate perched on an expanse of land off Mullhalland Drive. Built in the late 1930s, the lavish property included riding trails, tennis courts, and a main house equipped with secret passages and peepholes, fueling rumors of scandalous Hollywood parties. In My Wicked, Wicked Ways, Flynn himself recounted tales of raucous weekend gatherings that blurred the lines between fiction and reality. Biographers Tony Thomas and David Brett later corroborated some of these anecdotes, describing hidden compartments for liquor and possibly more illicit items. After Flynn's death in 1959, the estate passed through multiple hands. Without regular upkeep, it began to deteriorate rapidly. By the 1970s, curiosity seekers often trespassed onto the property, drawn by stories of hidden rooms and lavish Hollywood debauchery. Local newspapers like the Los Angeles Times documented a series of break-ins, thefts, and vandalism incidents. Eventually, the new owners concluded that the old structure was too far gone to restore. So, around the early 1980s, the wrecking ball came in, leveling the infamous house. Today, a modern development sits on the hallowed ground that once bore witness to Flynn's flamboyant lifestyle. Of Mullhalland Farm, only black and white photographs and stories passed down through Tinseltown gossip remain. Perfect fodder for rumors and imaginative retellings that capture the spirit of Hollywood's golden renegade. Jean Harlow's Beverly Hills home. Jean Harlow, the original blonde bombshell, lived in a Beverly Hills home that has long been the subject of rumor and eerie speculation. Officially built in the late 1920s, the Mediterranean-style mansion was characterized by terracotta roofs, archways, and an opulent courtyard garden. Harlow moved in with her mother after her breakthrough roles in Hell's Angels, 1930, and Red Dust, 1932. From personal letters and diaries discovered by film historian Mark Vieira, we glean that Harlow was deeply attached to the property, calling it her castle of dreams. Tragically, Jean Harlow died in 1937 at just 26 years old, succumbing to kidney failure. Her untimely death cast a melancholic aura over the estate. In the 1940s and 1950s, subsequent owners complained of strange noises and flickering lights, fostering rumors that Harlow's spirit lingered in the home. When the mansion underwent a massive renovation in the 1960s, many of its original features, ornate wooden doors, decorative tiling, were ripped out. By the 1980s, the structure was heavily remodeled again. According to property documents, the transformations were so extensive that it is nearly unrecognizable from its original state. Interestingly, a 1972 Los Angeles County Register entry noted that the new owners discovered hidden compartments possibly used for valuables or personal letters. Whether Harlow's intangible essence remains is up for debate. What's certain is that the house stands as a heavily altered shell of its former glamour, an emblem of a young star's bright flame extinguished far too soon. Harold Lloyd's Green Acres Estate. Harold Lloyd, one of the silent era's most inventive comedic talents, built Green Acres in Beverly Hills between 1926 and 1929. With an original 44 rooms spanning almost 45,000 square feet, this Italian Renaissance-inspired mansion was considered among the most extravagant homes in Hollywood. Restored architectural plans and personal letters archived by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences reveal that Lloyd was deeply involved in every facet of the estate's design, from the layout of the 9-hole golf course to the koi ponds dotted around the gardens. Unlike many celebrities of his day, Lloyd managed his wealth astutely, and the estate remained in the family for decades. It was a popular site for philanthropic events, occasionally opening its grand doors to charity fundraisers. According to local property surveys, Green Acres once encompassed more than 15 acres. Over time, inheritance issues and financial changes led the Lloyd family to sell or parcel off parts of the property, though the mansion itself still stands, earning it the distinction of one of the few surviving grand estates. Significant portions of the land were sold or subdivided into smaller lots. Much of the garden and recreational spaces that gave Green Acres its famous name are gone. Today, a fraction of the original property remains, carefully preserved by new owners who have made a concerted effort to maintain the Lloyd legacy. Yet, the sense of vastness and privacy once so integral to Harold Lloyd's vision has been irrevocably fractured by modern development. Charlie Chaplin's Sunset Boulevard Mansion. Built in a Tudor style in the 1920s, Charlie Chaplin's Sunset Boulevard Mansion was a cozy yet elegant hideaway, reflecting the star's English roots. Sources like David Robinson's Chaplan. His Life and Art Note. Chaplin's penchant for traditional European architecture and interior design. The house featured dark wooden beams, stained glass windows, and a meticulously landscaped garden that incorporated rose bushes imported from England. Chaplin's first years in the mansion overlapped with his creative prime, during which he produced classics like City Lights, 1931, and Modern Times, 1936. Film reels and behind-the-scenes Diary 9, uncovered by Chaplan archivists, hint that the star often used the mansion's library for scriptwriting. Close friends, such as Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford, were frequent visitors, dropping by for Sunday brunches. By the late 1940s, Chaplin's relationship with the United States government soured, culminating in his forced exile in 1952 amid accusations of un-American activities. The mansion changed hands a few times, ultimately falling into disrepair. Local real estate transaction logs from the late 1950s reveal that the property was sold to a developer who, lured by the booming post-war economy and rising land values, opted to demolish it in 1959. Today, commercial buildings line that stretch of Sunset Boulevard, leaving scarcely any reminder that cinema's greatest silent star once called this corner of Hollywood home. Clara Bowes' It Girl Home. Clara Bow, hailed as the It Girl of the 1920s for her magnetic screen presence, lived in a Mediterranean-style mansion perched in the hills above Hollywood. Constructed in 1928, the home boasted curved archways, an enclosed courtyard, and hand-painted tiles that gave it an exotic flair. Newspaper clippings from the time described Bowes' parties as wild affairs, brimming with rising stars, and wealthy producers eager to be seen with the era's hottest starlet. Despite her success, Clara Bowes' life was marred by financial mismanagement and emotional struggles. In her biography, Clara Bow, Runnin' Wild, author David Sten details how unscrupulous accountants and mounting debts forced Bow to let go of the property in the early 1930s. Its subsequent owners tried to maintain some of Bowes' signature style, but by the late 1950s, the mansion had fallen victim to neglect. Vandalism, water damage, and structural decay became recurring issues, as noted in a 1961 building inspection report kept in the Los Angeles County Archives. Eventually, the land proved more valuable than the aging structure. In the 1970s, developers bulldozed it, removing all trace of the once famed It Girl home. Today, the plot is part of a multi-residence development. Only vintage photographs and scattered local legends preserve the memory of Bowes' extravagant parties and the effervescent aura she brought to that hillside estate. Rudolph Valentino's Falcon Lair. Rudolph Valentino, the Latin lover of silent cinema, purchased this gated hillside property above Beverly Hills in 1925. Christened Falcon Lair, the Spanish-style mansion boasted panoramic views of Los Angeles, a private courtyard, and a signature turret. Valentino poured his heart and funds into customizing the property. He installed elaborate wrought iron gates, a fountain in the courtyard, and regal interior decor reminiscent of a Moorish castle. Sadly, Valentino died unexpectedly in 1926 at the age of 31, never fully experiencing the home he designed. According to Emily Leiter's Dark Lover, The Life and Death of Rudolph Valentino, fans flocked to Falcon Lair for years, leaving flowers at the gate and sometimes breaking in to glimpse Valentino's rumored secret rooms. Over time, numerous celebrities took ownership of the mansion, each adding or removing elements from Valentino's original design. In the late 1990s, the property sustained extensive fire damage, leading to expensive repairs. Some sections were eventually demolished for safety reasons. The estate's partial demolition ignited outcry from classic film aficionados who pleaded for restoration. But real estate pressures in the area eventually won out, and only fragments of the original mansion remain. Rumors persist that Valentino's ghost haunts Falcon Lair, drifting through the courtyard at dusk, a spectral symbol of Hollywood's ephemeral glory. Elizabeth Taylor's Belair Estate. Elizabeth Taylor, famed for her violet eyes and dazzling film career, acquired her Belair estate in the late 1950s following her marriage to Mike Todd. Architectural sketches housed in the Margaret Herrick Library show that the property was a mid-century modern with luxurious flourishes, expansive floor-to-ceiling glass walls, a sweeping driveway, and a pool house rumored to be larger than a typical family home. Taylor's diaries and letters collected by her biographers, such as C. David Heyman, indicate that she spent lavishly on renovations, importing marble from Italy and rare plants for the landscaped gardens. The estate played host to some of Hollywood's most exclusive soirees, with guests like Rock Hudson, Sammy Davis Jr., and Debbie Reynolds. This was also where she recuperated after various illnesses and heartbreaks, making the mansion a focal point for her personal saga. By the 1970s, Taylor's personal life had taken multiple turns, and she eventually moved on. The estate subsequently changed owners multiple times. In 2010, after the property suffered from years of minimal upkeep, the new owner filed for a demolition permit. Preservationists rallied, arguing that the home embodied a unique confluence of architectural and cinematic history. Yet, the wrecking crews came regardless. Today, a sleek, modern mansion stands in place of Taylor's legendary Belair retreat, leaving behind little more than legends of her famous parties and the faint aroma of bygone extravagance. Joan Crawford's Brentwood Mansion. Joan Crawford's Brentwood Mansion became notorious as the setting for her contentious relationship with her adopted children, later chronicled in Christina Crawford's memoir, Mommy Dearest. This sprawling Georgian-style home featured symmetrical brick facades, white columns, and meticulously manicured lawns. Property records from the 1940s confirm Crawford purchased it at the peak of her stardom, eager to craft a domestic image that fit her screen persona. Yet behind the polished exterior, tensions simmered. In taped interviews stored at the UCLA Film and Television Archive, former household staff recounted Crawford's obsession with cleanliness and discipline. After her film career waned, Crawford left California for New York, and the mansion exchanged owners multiple times. By the early 1990s, property developers saw an opportunity to revamp the lot for contemporary tastes. Neighborhood associations attempted to halt the demolition, citing the house's cinematic and cultural significance. However, the mansion was ultimately torn down, leaving fans of classic Hollywood outraged. Some still believe the site harbors restless energies from Crawford's era. Paranormal enthusiasts occasionally post alleged sightings online, though no official documentation supports these claims. The new residence, a palatial estate with state-of-the-art security, now sits on the land where Joan Crawford once reigned, with icy glamour and unwavering control. Cary Grant's Palm Springs home. Cary Grant was synonymous with suave sophistication, both on-screen and in real life. In the late 1940s, he invested in a desert oasis in Palm Springs, an area favored by Hollywood elites for its warm climate and relative privacy. Known locally as Las Palomas, the modern adobe-style structure was designed to maximize indoor-outdoor living. Reports from local architects mention breezy corridors, a shaded courtyard, and a minimalist interior that granted respite from the desert heat. Unlike many celebrities of his era, Grant was famously private. He used the home primarily as a retreat, hosting only small gatherings for close friends like Randolph Scott and Howard Hughes. Biographer Mark Elliott notes that Grant cherished the seclusion offered by Palm Springs, spending quiet mornings reading scripts and afternoons playing golf. After Grant sold the property in the 1960s, subsequent owners made few changes until the late 1970s. By the early 1980s, Las Palomas faced a familiar fate. Newer buyers wanted more modern amenities and a larger footprint. The aging adobe was considered outdated, and it was eventually bulldozed. Today, a massive contemporary home occupies the once serene site, equipped with infinity pools and sleek design elements that reflect the 21st century desert lifestyle. Grant's understated desert refuge now lives on solely in the annals of Palm Springs real estate lore. Rock Hudson's Beverly Hills Mansion. Located on a quiet street in Beverly Hills, Rock Hudson's home was a study in quiet elegance rather than ostentatious display. Purchased in the 1950s, the ranch-style house had modest square footage compared to most celebrity homes. According to property records referenced by his longtime friend and publicist Janu Collart, Hudson deliberately chose a less conspicuous residence to avoid excessive media attention. Within the walls of this unassuming mansion, Hudson entertained close friends like Elizabeth Taylor, who visited him frequently, especially as he battled health issues later in life. Magazine interviews from the 1960s describe a tranquil pool area surrounded by tall hedges, ideal for private gatherings. Hudson's personal library revealed his passion for photography and world travel. Following his death in 1985 from complications related to AIDS, the property was sold. In a 1990 real estate transaction reported by the Los Angeles Times, new owners decided to raise the structure to erect a more expansive contemporary home. Fans and historians lamented the loss, seeing it as an erasure of the quiet dignity that characterized Hudson's life and career. Today, a modern mansion with open-plan living spaces stands on the lot, bearing no testament to the gentle giant of Hollywood who once called it home. James Dean's last apartment in Sherman Oaks. James Dean, though not known for living in a mansion, left his mark on Hollywood in just a few short years. His modest one-bedroom apartment in Sherman Oaks has garnered near mythical status among fans. Rented for a mere $85 a month in the mid-1950s, the small space boasted hardwood floors and a simple kitchenette, nothing like the grand estates of his contemporaries. Yet, for Dean, this served as a retreat from studio politics and prying paparazzi. In a 1977 interview archived by the California Historical Quarterly, a former neighbor recalled Dean often pacing outside the building, cigarette in hand, poring over scripts for Rebel Without a Cause and Giant. After his tragic fatal car crash in 1955, fans flocked to the apartment, leaving notes and flowers at the door. Less than 2 decades later, the entire structure was torn down in the 1970s. Developers sought to create a larger condominium complex to capitalize on rising property values in Sherman Oaks. While the site now houses modern apartments, longtime residents still share anecdotes about James Dean's brief presence in the neighborhood. Though it wasn't a mansion, Dean's humble abode underscores that not all Hollywood losses are about grand estates. Sometimes, it's the smaller, deeply personal spaces that vanish without a trace. Natalie Wood's Beverly Hills home. Natalie Wood achieved stardom as a child actor in the 1940s and maintained a successful career through the 1970s. In the 1960s, she settled into a refined Beverly Hills estate with husband Robert Wagner. The home, according to building permits, was constructed in a transitional style, melding traditional and modern elements. High ceilings and expansive windows overlooked a meticulously landscaped garden, where Wood hosted Sunday brunches for Hollywood elites. Wood's personal collection of movie memorabilia adorned the interior, a testament to her lifelong involvement in the film industry. Press interviews from the 1970s capture glimpses of a warm domestic life, with a well-stocked library and a hidden nook for her Academy Award nominations. Yet, as the 1980s approached, the property seemed fated for a change. Following Wood's untimely death in 1981, the house was eventually put up for sale. Real estate logs indicate that new owners initially preserved many aspects of the home, out of respect for its illustrious previous occupant. By the late 1980s, however, a redevelopment push saw the mansion demolished to make way for a more contemporary structure. Devotees of Natalie Wood mourned this decision, seeing it as further evidence of Hollywood's propensity to cast aside its history. The site now features a modern dwelling, with only faint reminders of the starlet who once graced its halls. Fred Estairs, Holmby Hills Estate. Fred Astaire, renowned for his effortless dancing style, lived in an elegantly understated Holmby Hills estate. Built in the 1930s, the house combined colonial revival architecture with subtle Art Deco elements, mirroring the dancer's refined yet innovative artistry. According to a 1941 issue of Architectural Digest, Astaire commissioned a private dance studio on the property. This mirrored hall featured specialized flooring that minimized joint stress and provided the ideal surface for tap routines. Interviews with Astaire's choreographers, such as Hermes Pan, suggest that many of Astaire's groundbreaking dance routines were first tested in that studio. Off the dance floor, the home served as a peaceful haven, where Astaire indulged in horse riding, golfing, and the occasional card game with close friends like Bing Crosby. After Astaire's passing in 1987, the estate changed ownership. By the early 1990s, a wave of modern development swept through Holmby Hills, valuing new architectural statements over the preservation of classical designs. Despite a half-hearted attempt by local historians to designate the property as a cultural landmark, the demolition proceeded. The private dance studio that once echoed with the taps of Hollywood's greatest hoofers was lost. In its place stands a sleek, modern mansion that, while luxurious, offers no tribute to the legacy of a man who danced his way into cinema history. Barbara Stanwyck's Beverly Hills Mansion. Barbara Stanwyck's career spanned everything from pre-code films to 1960s westerns, establishing her as one of Hollywood's most enduring stars. In the 1940s, she acquired a secluded Beverly Hills mansion. Documents from the Los Angeles Department of Building and Safety note that this Spanish colonial revival home included a courtyard fountain and wrought iron balconies. Known for her preference for privacy, Stanwyck hired staff sparingly, often maintaining the household herself. Guests who visited, including directors like Frank Capra, marveled at the home's unpretentious elegance. In interviews, Stanwyck described it as her retreat from the madness, where she could read scripts, enjoy gardening, and perfect the tough yet vulnerable persona that made her a box office draw. After her retirement in the 1970s, Stanwyck sold the property. The new owners initially respected the vintage charm, but later succumbed to the real estate pressures of the early 1980s. According to local zoning records, the mansion was deemed ill-suited for contemporary living trends, and it was swiftly demolished. A more modern estate took its place, generating minimal headlines, but marking yet another step in the erasure of Hollywood's architectural heritage. Fans of Stanwyck can still see glimpses of the home in old photographs and film retrospectives, though the physical structure is long gone. Clark Gable and Carol Lombard's Encino Ranch. Clark Gable and Carol Lombard, once considered the ultimate Hollywood power couple, found respite from studio lights at their sprawling ranch in Encino. This large property, purchased in the late 1930s, included stables for Gable's horses, orchard groves, and a modest ranch-style home. Personal letters and telegrams stored at the Academy's Margaret Herrick Library reveal that Lombard adored the open space and the relaxed pace of ranch life. She cultivated a small vegetable garden, while Gable spent weekends writing. Their idyllic life was cut short by Lombard's tragic plane crash in 1942. Gable, devastated by her loss, retained ownership of the ranch, but spent less time there over the years. Various owners came and went, but it remained largely intact, until the devastating 1994 Northridge earthquake severely damaged the main house and outbuildings. Structural engineers deemed many of the buildings unsafe. Faced with enormous repair costs, the owners elected to demolish the damaged structures. Encino's expanding suburban sprawl further incentivized a complete redevelopment of the property. Today, a neighborhood of modern single-family homes occupies what was once Gable and Lombard's pastoral love nest. Although the memory of their romance endures through countless Hollywood retrospectives, the ranch that symbolized their domestic bliss belongs to the annals of vanished Tinseltown. Lana Turner's Beverly Hills home. Few Hollywood stars embodied glamour quite like Lana Turner. In 1953, Turner purchased a lavish Beverly Hills home, decked out with crystal chandeliers and ornate wood paneling. Property records indicate the house boasted a spacious foyer, multiple living areas, and meticulously curated gardens. Turner's taste for high-end fashion and interior design matched her screen image, elegant, but with an undercurrent of drama. That undercurrent came to the fore in 1958, when Turner's then-boyfriend, Johnny Stompanato, was fatally stabbed in the house by Turner's teenage daughter, Cheryl Crane, during a domestic dispute. The subsequent media frenzy cast a shadow over the property's once glittering reputation. By the 1960s, Turner moved, and the mansion's successive owners grappled with its tabloid past. Eventually, by the 2000s, local real estate developers deemed the structure outdated. Preservationists argued that the site merited a historical marker, not only for its architectural significance, but also for its role in one of Hollywood's most notorious scandals. Their pleas went unheeded, and the house was demolished. In its place, a modern residence rose, bearing little trace of the tragic events that once unfolded within its walls. Turner's life, and that fateful night, lives on in biographies, news archives, and the collective imagination of Hollywood buffs. From Marilyn Monroe's final refuge to the ranch of Clark Gable and Carol Lombard, these vanished mansions tell stories of Hollywood's ever-shifting identity. Although grand facades crumble and gardens vanish, the memories still resonate through photographs, biographies, and old news clippings. Which demolished celebrity home fascinates you the most, and why? Share your thoughts below, and let's keep the conversation alive about preserving what remains of Hollywood's golden heritage.